Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Vishesha Shunyavasi Paschatya Deshakarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Sindhubhya Ekacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we'll be discussing from the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam on the section of the Gopi Gita. So I'll start by asking a question. What do you know about the Gopi Gita? If somebody asks you about Gopi Gita, what is it? It seems my Wi-Fi is not working. Do we have local Wi-Fi here? Not. Wi-Fi. Okay. So what do you know about the Gopi Gita? Sorry?
Sung by Gopis for Krishna.
Sung by Gopis for Krishna. Yes, that is true.
It's separation. Prayers of the Gopis.
Okay, in separation from Krishna, they're the prayers of the Gopis. Okay, when was it sung? When Krishna disappeared from the Ras Leela. Okay, perfect. And what is special about it? I think it's working, no problem. Sorry, it is?
Maybe because the highest Parakhiya Bhava feelings are embedded into the Gita, into this prayers.
Okay, the Parakhiya Bhava feelings are embedded into this. That's very true.
Talks about the devotion.
It reveals the devotion of the Gopis. Yes. Okay. And is there any special occasion when it is sung, or is there any special caution to be considered while approaching this? Sorry?
You should understand that we're not eligible or
Yeah,
have
okay.
the proper consciousness.
We should,
Yes.
we should be on soul platform. We should know that we are not body.
Well, okay. So are we all on the soul platform? At least I am struggling to be. So yes, it's at least we can say is that the point is well taken. It reflects a very exalted level of devotion, and it is easily misunderstandable. That's why it has to be carefully approached. Yes. So when we discuss the Gopi Gita, our focus will be on three main things as we discuss this. The Acharyas have commented elaborately on the Gopi Gita, but they have, their commentaries are often quite esoteric. So we will refer to them occasionally, but our focus will be from our level. See, whenever there is any prayer, now prayer basically involves, say there is a devotee and there is the Lord. So we have Krishna, and the devotee is offering prayer to Krishna. So now the prayer is an expression of devotion. So through a prayer, we can understand, first of all, we can appreciate devotion more. We can get an understanding of, oh, please come inside.
So much space is there.
we can appreciate more what is devotion. So, for example, when we hear prayers like Nadhanam Najanam Nasundar, we understand how devotion means singular focus on the Lord. So, through hearing the prayers of other devotees, we understand what is devotion. But along with that, say devotion is not just an emotion. Devotion is an emotion of attraction toward the Lord. So we can come to know more about the Lord. Specifically, how do the gopis see Krishna? What is it that they find so attractive about Krishna? And then we can also come to know more about the gopis. That okay, what is their nature? Generally, whenever we hear anyone speak, first of all we hear the content of what they are speaking, and then we try to understand the message. But when we are understanding the message, we also understand the messenger through that. Okay, what is the person's mood? What is the person's emphasis? What is the person's nature? So, like that, basically, in bhakti, there are these three elements: the Lord, the Bhakta, Bhakti, and Bhagavan. So, we'll try to understand all these three, and we'll try to understand it primarily from our level or our perspective. Can you switch this off? So, now let's look I'll, at the context in which this songs are spoken. So before we go there, let's start by reciting the first verse. Now the verses are sung. It is described that the gopis here are presented as a collective unit. Jiva Goswami explains in Gopal Champu that each it's one gopi is offering one prayer, but it is presented as Gopyaha Uchuhu. It is not at all the gopis had memorized the Gopi Geet and a collective memorization come recitation is happening over here. Now, each gopi is expressing the mood of her heart. And at the same time, so each gopi, she is an individual expressing her longing for Krishna. But she is simultaneously a representative of the group as she is offering her prayer to Krishna. And while each prayer seems to be an individual and distinct prayer, but all the prayers have one underlying theme. Sometimes the theme is directly spoken. Please come inside. You will not be able to see this.
Sorry.
So each prayer essentially is conveying to Krishna, please come back. Please come back. Krishna has disappeared, and the gopis are praying to Krishna, please return, please come back, please become visible to us. And that prayer is being offered from different perspectives. Each gopi, in one sense, is giving one reason why Krishna you should come back. And if we see this from this perspective, it becomes, while we can try to look for the flow from first prayer to second prayer to third prayer to fourth prayer. Normally, that is how we try to understand. If you study the Bhagavad Gita or a section of the Bhagavatam, okay, what is the connection between this and this and this? So here, however, it is more of the theme here is that please return. And with this theme in mind, we can say each prayer is actually coming through the same theme. So rather than the flow between the prayers, while there is a flow, But more important than that flow between the prayers is how each prayer is pointing to this theme. So that is the underlying flow. And in one sense, the Lord is present in our hearts also. See, when Krishna, we say Krishna disappeared from the gopis, Krishna was still there, but Krishna had disappeared from the vision of the gopis. So Krishna is present in our heart also, but he is not manifest to our vision. So from that perspective, while neither our specific mood of devotion nor our level of devotion is similar to the gopis, but that principle of the Lord who is unmanifest, we request him to become manifest. That is the principle that we'll be focusing on. So, this principle of Bhed and Abhed works throughout existence. And we can apply that in our approach to the Gopi Gita also. So, the specific mood of devotion. So, they are in the Madhurya Ras. Now, what is our particular rasa, we will come to know in due course. Right? So, our mood may not exactly be the same, and our level is we have some devotion, but it is definitely not at the level of the utter selflessness of the gopis. So in terms of mood and level, there is bheda, but in terms of the purpose is that the unmanifest Lord, we want the Lord to become manifest. So in those terms, there is much that we can learn from the prayers of the gopis. So we'll focus on that particular theme of how the gopis are calling for the Lord to become manifest. And how we can also, when we offer these prayers, we can also have a similar mood. Now, within the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, these prayers have a significant position. And as we go through those prayers, we will recognize or contemplate the significance of these prayers. But before that, let's look at textually where is it situated. How many cantos are there in the Bhagavatam? 12 cantos. Any idea how many chapters? Yeah, 335 chapters. Now, out of these, how many chapters are in the 10th canto?
98, 94.
Very close. 10th canto has 90 chapters, exactly. Now, the 10th canto is almost 1/3 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, both in terms of the number of verses and also in terms of the overall size. Because the chapter 90 out of 335 is 1/3. And 10th canto is special in the sense that it focuses on Krishna. It's all about the pastimes of Krishna. To some extent, in the 11th canto also, Krishna comes in focus. But there, it's more Krishna Shiksha. It's Uddhav Gita is Krishna giving instructions. There are other things also in the 11th canto. Other dialogues are going on. In the 10th canto itself, out of these 90 chapters, the first 40 chapters focus on Vrindavan. Krishna in Vrindavan is described in the first 40 chapters. Then the next 10 chapters are Krishna in Mathura. And then the next 10 chapters are Krishna is more based in Dwarka. But most of the Leelas, or like several of the Leelas, don't happen in Dwarka itself. Because Krishna has become, say in today's term, the international figure. So if a head of state is the head of the state, but that person is also an international leader. And that person keeps traveling. So Krishna is based in Dwarka, and whenever there's an emergency in Dwarka, he's there to assist. But otherwise, most of the times, he's away from Dwarka, either freeing the world from demons or delivering devotees. So this, the special mood of Krishna that we Gaudiya Vaishnavas focus on, and especially the mood of Krishna that has inspired devotion, is primarily Vrindavan. The Dwarka Krishna is also very inspiring for devotees, but there is a special flavor. Aradhyo Bhagavan Brajeshatanayas. Brajeshatanayas. So now in these 40 chapters, there are 5 chapters, 29 to 33. These are called the Ras Pancha Adhyay. So the Rasa Pancha Adhyay, Pancha Adhyay literally is 5 chapters. So these describe the Rasa Leela. And in these 5 chapters, the flow is quite linear. It's almost like if you have studied some plays of Shakespeare or some other plays, they have acts. No, so it's like one scene. If there's a drama is being performed, then one sequence of event goes on, then the curtains close, and then another scene comes up. Then the curtains close, another scene comes up. So it's while the narrative is continuous, there are distinct scenes that are focused on in each of these. So if you consider 29th chapter, it is primarily about Krishna calls the gopis. So while the whole incident is described, Krishna plays the flute and he calls the gopis. And the gopis demonstrate Sarvadharman Parityajya, leave everything and come to Krishna. Now, after they come to Krishna, there are some discussions. Now, the 30th chapter has multiple things. That there is the discussion that goes on. Then, after the discussion, there is also the dance that happens. After the Krishna talks, we will come back to this, what Krishna talks at that time. The gopis start dancing, and then suddenly there is the disappearance. So Krishna disappears from there. And then the gopis are devastated. And there is not only the disappearance, this chapter, some of the discussion happens here also. But then there is the search. The gopis search desperately for Krishna. And they are not able to find him anywhere. And that is when they return. Not back to their homes. They return to the place where they have had the most intimate pastimes with Krishna. That is on the banks of the Jamuna. And on the banks of the Jamuna, they sit. And they sit as if in a circle. And they envision as if Krishna is already between them. Although Krishna is not. And they are praying to Krishna. So it is these prayers. So there is the prayers for the reappearance of Krishna. That is what is described in the 31st chapter. And in one sense, if you consider this 31st chapter, it is, we'll come back to this, but there's something very distinctive about this chapter. And the 32nd chapter is the return. And again, there is some questioning by the gopis. Questioning, and Krishna answers. And this is where Krishna reveals his heart and expresses his appreciation for the exalted love of the gopis. Naparayayam. Krishna says that I cannot repay you for the love that you have demonstrated. And then after that, then the rasa dance happens, the full celebration happens, and then the return. Here the return means gopis and Krishna return to their homes. So this is how it's a 5-stage, you could say, narrative, 5-stage drama. And we are focusing on the specifically 31st chapter, which involves the gopis' prayers. Now, if you consider chapter 31, it's almost a chapter of zero action. Isn't it? Zero action means that nobody is moving, nobody is running, nobody is doing anything. The dancing is action. Searching for somebody is action. the gopis running toward Krishna is action. So even you could say discussion is also an action. At least if two people are talking, that's why often we try to have classes that are a little more interactive. But here it's prayer that are being offered. That's one direction of the prayers, and Krishna is not responding over it. So in that sense, it's just zero action. But along with zero action, there is maximum emotion. So if you consider movies there is romance and action. So action is where there's a lot of fighting, and that excites people. And romance is where there's love and relationships, and that's what excites people. So in Krishna Lila, there is, you could say, action where Krishna fights with the demons, but there is also emotion. And this song is expressing the most intense emotion. The emotion of the gopis, they're desperately calling for Krishna to come back. And when the gopis are calling Krishna to come back, at that time, they have come to the end of their efforts. That means they have been searching. Kavi Karnapurna Anandavanjapu explains that the gopis in their search for Krishna go so deep into the forest that they can't even see their own hands in front of them. It's so dark. The forest has become so thick, and they're somehow finding their way inside. And they realize even if Krishna is here, we won't be able to see him. So this is not the way to find Krishna. And that's why they come back. And then they sit and they decide, we'll call out to Krishna. We'll beg Krishna to return. And while this particular section of the Bhagavatam is, as we discussed, quite exalted. If you consider Srila Prabhupada's approach, it was two ways. One was Prabhupada reminded us that this is very exalted repeatedly. And yet, while Srila Prabhupada emphasized that this is certainly not to be imitated. And we'll talk about the imitation, the risk from that a little later when we come to it. But there's one side Prabhupada says very exalted. But at the same time, Prabhupada also made this very accessible. In the sense that Prabhupada summarized the 10th canto as, where did Prabhupada summarize? The Samam Bonam. But how did Prabhupada make it accessible? As the Krishna book. And Prabhupada said this Krishna book is for mass distribution, isn't it? The 10th canto is very exalted, but the 10th canto Prabhupada made more accessible than the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. So the idea is that not that we are never meant to touch this. Right? With proper understanding, Prabhupada gives us his commentaries, and Prabhupada was also asked, Prabhupada said this is a summary study. So what does summary study mean? Prabhupada said, summary study means I do whatever I want. Now what he meant was, not that Prabhupada is going to do anything whimsically. I do whatever I want means Prabhupada is presenting a Shastra in a way that he understands will serve the needs of those who are reading it. So Prabhupada in the Gopi Gita section, for example, or wherever Prabhupada is speaking, he gives us a lot of philosophical buffering so that we are aware that this is not just mundane romance, that this is divine. And so if we have that proper mood, then Prabhupada did want us to approach it. So there is one letter where the devotees, this is in the time when Prabhupada was still manifest among us. At that time, Prabhupada would take an active interest in the backward magazine. Prabhupada would read himself every magazine. And one time, one devotee wrote an article about the gopis. And the editors, because they felt that this is too exalted subject, they said, don't publish this. And then that devotee wrote to Prabhupada saying that Prabhupada had written this article, it was not published. And Prabhupada read the article and said, it's very nice, you should publish it. And then Prabhupada wrote to the editors. And Prabhupada learned his English in the 1920s. It was the British education system, Victorian. So Prabhupada used a typical British word. He said that, who told you to boycott the gopis? So he said, we don't want to take the gopis cheaply, but that doesn't mean that we can't even mention their names. So if the article is written properly, then it should be published. So the point is that Prabhupada himself wanted us, with the proper understanding, with the proper, we could say, very accessible, how it is, the proper two things. There's philosophical, we could say, buffering. Otherwise, if there's no buffer, then there's a shock, there's a jolt. So proper philosophical buffering, and if we have the proper devotional mood, then he did want us to approach these pastimes. Now, there's another way of looking at this, that this is, if you look at the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition itself, the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition of which we are a part, its very essence is the mood of Krishna in separation, or mood of love in separation. And that is manifest the highest in the love of the gopis. So in one sense, this is the heart of the tradition. This is what Mahaprabhu's mood was. This is what is the unique legacy that Mahaprabhu gave us. Anarpit charan chirat karunaya avatirna kalam. Anarpit, that which was not offered for a very, very long time. Chirat, for a long time. Chirat. So that he's offered. This is the heart. And if the tradition is to be preserved, if the tradition is to be continued, that heart has to be understood. At least by some people. And everybody has to have some understanding. So we could say deep understanding at least for some people, and some understanding for everyone. Now Prabhupada was once asked, Prabhupada quoted some Western author, he said, knowledge or education means to know something about everything and everything about something. So, so education, something about everything. That means we have our speciality where we can offer some distinctive service. Now, of course, everything is not literal. Nobody can know everything about something, but a fair amount. We have certain level of expertise. And then also, what is the other thing? Everything, something about everything is whatever service we are called upon to do, we have some competence to do that service. Whatever subject we are asked to speak on, we will not be experts, but we have some basic level of knowledge. So something about everything, and everything about something. So we have some service which is like our Guru Datta Desh, which is our area of service. It could be geographical area, it could be a particular field of service, whatever it is. So same way, when we look at what is the heart of our tradition, so everyone can have at least some understanding. And there's some we need to have honestly a deep understanding. So what we are going to try to do is at least get some understanding of this, so that we know what our tradition is. Now, if we don't do this, then unwittingly what is going to happen is that others are going to study it and others are going to speak on it. And maybe others, there could be other Gaudiya Vaishnavas who are not necessarily having, they are connected with the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, but they're not necessarily having the proper mood. So there are people, even devotees may want to know more about Krishna. And there are other people who want to know more about Krishna. So if we don't speak about Krishna, saying that, oh, Krishna is very exalted, then it's not that nobody is going to speak about it. Then others are going to speak, and it's quite likely that the understanding that they give is going to be further away from what is a proper devotional understanding. So others speak that could very well lead to misunderstanding. The Krishna can get misunderstood, misrepresented. So sometimes in trying to protect the purity of the tradition, we may end up harming the purity because we may just let the tradition become monopolized by those who do not have the purity. There are many people nowadays on YouTube, so many people speak about Krishna. Now, how many of them have a proper understanding? I'm not saying nobody has. There are many great souls outside our movement also. But the point is, if it's our legacy, it's our responsibility to protect it as well as to present it. So when somebody asks, okay, Krishna's pastime with the gopis, oh, this transcendental. Well, they will just say that you are simply being illogical. You have no logical answers, isn't it? So we also have to have some understanding so that we can present it. Of course, here we are not focusing so much on how to present this particular pastime to outsiders, although we'll talk a little bit about it. This is more for ourselves to appreciate and relish Krishna. Okay. So that was all the background. Let's go to the verse. At least let's do one verse today. So ideally, is anyone good at singing this verse? These verses? What we normally would do is we sing the verse once. Yeah, so
Can you pass on the mic then? Small mic. Quickly.
So I'll just quickly explain the meaning once, then we can sing it, and then we will discuss the meaning further. Oh. So Gopya Uchu, as I said, it's a collective prayer. Jayati te dhikam. The gopis are saying that Jayati has become more glorious. Te adhikam, even more glorious. Janmana Praja. That when you appeared in Braja, Braja became even more glorious. And how glorious did it become? That Shrayata Indira Shashwadatrahi. That Indira is another name for the goddess of fortune. And Shashwat Atrahi. Now the goddess of fortune is known to be Chanchala. She doesn't stay at one place for long. She made this her permanent place of and then they're saying, Daita Drishyatam. So, O lover, O beloved, Drishyatam. Please make yourself visible to us. Vikshutavaka. So we have dedicated our lives to you. Our eyes are searching for you. Tvai dhruta savas tvam vichinnuvate. So our eyes are searching for you, our heart is devoted to you. We have been searching for you. Tvam vichinnuvate. So please, as I said, please return is not an explicit call. It's implicit in many of the verses. In only a few, it is implicit. Sorry, it's explicit. Yes, we can.
जयति तेधिकं जन्मनाव्रजा श्रयत इन्दिरा शाश्वतत्रयी दैत्यदृश्यतां निक्षुतावका स्वैर्यता सवा स्वामि चिन्वते.
Okay, for those who are not familiar, let's do it responsibly.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you want to do it one line or two lines?
Just one line.
One line will be better.
जयति तेधिकं जन्मनाव्रजा
जयति तेधिकं जन्मनाव्रजा
श्रयत इन्दिरा शाश्वतत्रयी
श्रयत इन्दिरा शाश्वतत्रयी
दैतदृश्यतां दीक्षुतावका
दैतदृश्यतां दीक्षुतावका
स्वयि धृता सवास् त्वां विचिन्वते
स्वयि धृता सवास् त्वां विचिन्वते.
So we'll reflect on this, and then if we have time, we'll recite it a few more times while contemplating the meanings. So one of the characteristics of the Gopi Geet is its poetic beauty. You'll notice that there is the poetic ornament. In Sanskrit, it's called alankar. The alankar is here, it's alliteration. So Jayati Janmana. So J sound is repeated. Similarly, Shrayata and Shashwat. So the Sh sound is repeated. Similarly, Daita Drishyata Dikshata. So the sound is repeated in Daita and Dikshu. Additional alliteration is there also in Drishyata. But then Tvai Dhruta Savas Tvam Vichinvate. So to sound is repeated. And this is there in almost every single verse. There's only one verse it is not there, and we'll discuss exactly why it is not there at that particular point. But there's this alliteration, and it's very, very sweet to recite, sweet to hear being recited. I mean, the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, while there are many exalted prayers, this is among the most from those who know a little bit of Sanskrit and Sanskrit construct, Brahma and Sanskrit poetry. This is exquisite poetry also. So there's a literary dimension to it. There's a literary poetic dimension to it. And there is also the devotional dimension. So we'll focus on the devotional dimension, but we'll notice certain literary features whenever they come. Now, Jayati Te Dhikam. So it's interesting that the gopis, when they are here separated from Krishna, they are in immense agony. And now, generally, when we have to call someone, we have to invest that call with some emotion. So how do the gopis invest their emotions? So the mood of the gopis over here is they are in a plight of great misfortune, and they are trying to draw a contrast. It's like, suppose there's a place where a king is known to be very charitable, and abundant charity is given over there. And then somebody says, oh, in this land of so much charity, I am starving and dying of hunger. Then gopis are saying that land is so fortunate, and why then are we suffering such misfortune? So that is the contrast that they are drawing. So this land of Raja is already fortunate. Raja is extremely beautiful. It is an exalted place. We understand that Raja exists eternally in the spiritual world and manifests over here. So Raja is already fortunate. So they talk about the fortune of Raja at 3 levels. So the first level is that Raja is fortunate simply because it is Raja. It is basically, it is paradise. It is a part of the spiritual world, which is Raja is often called as to use a poetic adjective, pastoral paradise. So you have the alliteration PA sound over here. So pastoral is grazing grounds. So pastoral paradise. So it's already extremely beautiful. It's already special. It's already a replica of the spiritual world. But then we know that there are many sacred places where Krishna has appeared and then Krishna has resided and Krishna has disappeared. But here, Krishna has appeared over here. And Krishna is still here over there. That makes it even more special. Like Jagannath Puri is a special dham. But then Lord Jagannath's presence makes it even more special. So Krishna has appeared over there. And then third level says that when Krishna, you have appeared, Indira, the goddess of fortune, has also appeared. The goddess of fortune has not only appeared, she has decided to stay permanently. Shashwat. So when there is such fortune, it's a land of such fortune. On one side, the land is so fortunate. And then they're saying that how can we have such misfortune? They may say that, oh, sometimes they may say that, in the land of such property, prosperity, you are having poverty. That's because maybe you are financially irresponsible, you squandered your money. So, yes, it may be said that, okay, the gopis are unfortunate because they don't care for Krishna. I say, no, daita drishyata. So on one side, that they're talking about the fortune of Vrindavan, of Raja, and they're saying, why such misfortune for us? And just by being in Vraja, one deserves to not have such misfortune. At the first level. But then they talk about themselves further and they say, you are our beloved. We love you, we care for you. So, not only do we care for you, Daita Drushyata, you are beloved, we are looking for you. We are seeking you. We want you to be there. Dikshutavakas, Daita Drushyata, and our hearts are remembering you. Tvam Vichinvati. Our lives are dedicated to you. So our entire being is for you. And when this is the case, Krishna, how can you not appear before us? How can you abandon us? You brought fortune upon everyone, and yet you let misfortune come upon us. How is this right? So generally, whenever we have to appeal to someone to do something, no, we can't. If we are in a position of authority, we can use force. But if we are not in a position of authority, then we have to appeal to their heart. We have to appeal to their good sense. We have to appeal to their morality. The gopis are appealing to Krishna. They're saying that this is unworthy. This is completely wrong. This shouldn't be happening, Krishna. Please come back. We are searching for you, dedicated our lives to you. So, in some ways, the gopis are manifesting 10.9 in the Bhagavad Gita. 10.9 is Matchitta Madgata Prana Bodhayantaha Parasparam Katrantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. So, Matchitta there. The word Machitta, that is 10.9, Prabhupada translates very beautifully. You could simply say that Machitta, they think of me. But Prabhupada puts it somewhere else. Their thoughts reside in me. So he says that our thoughts, see, when we say always remember Krishna, say, how is it practical? Like we have to think of so many things. And yes, we have to. But just as we may go to 100 places, but we always come back home. So similarly, for a devotee, our thoughts may go in 100 directions. But Krishna is our home. So our thoughts reside in him. They go out, but then they come back to Krishna. I have to do this job, I have to do this thing, I have to take care of that. And we think about those things. But then, that is our thoughts come back to Krishna. So the gopis, Tvam Vichimmati, their hearts are devoted to Krishna, their minds are absorbed in Krishna. And as they're saying, Krishna, this does not behoove you, that you are letting us suffer like this. We are suffering terribly in separation from you. And they're not demanding, but they are requesting quite forcefully. It's force, not force, physical force, but it's more the force of the appeal through contrast. So Prabhupada explains at one place that devotion, it has two aspects to it. One is desiring, which is essential. But while desiring has to be there has to be no demanding. If we are demanding, then we don't have a service attitude. But if you are not even desiring, then where is the devotion at all? Isn't it? A devotee desires to see Krishna, but a devotee does not demand that they see Krishna. So the gopis are manifesting this mood of desiring but not demanding. but they're making the desire expressed very strongly. And this is the desiring expressed through the force of contrast. And we will see this force of contrast, that this is not how things should be. This is just wrong, Krishna. You should not be abandoning us like that. Verses. So let's recite this verse once again, and then if you have a few questions we can discuss, and then we'll continue tomorrow. Okay. Yes.
जयति तेऽधिकं जन्मना व्रजा
जयति तेऽधिकं जन्मना व्रजा
श्रयत इन्दिरा शाश्वतत्र हि
श्रयत इन्दिरा शाश्वतत्र हि
दयितदृश्यतां दीक्षुतावकाश
दयितदृश्यतां दीक्षुतावकाश
त्वयिधृता सवास् त्वां विचिन्वते
त्वयिधृता सवास् त्वां विचिन्वते
Once more.
जयति तेऽधिकं जन्मना व्रजा
जयति तेऽधिकं जन्मना व्रजा
श्रयत इन्दिरा शाश्वतत्र हि
श्रयत इन्दिरा शाश्वतत्र हि
दयितदृश्यतां दीक्षुतावकाश
दयितदृश्यतां दीक्षुतावकाश
त्वयिधृता सवास् त्वां विचिन्वते
त्वयिधृता सवास् त्वां विचिन्वते
So we'll continue this tomorrow. Any questions? Do you have time for questions?
Yeah.
Few minutes. Yes,
I
please.
have a question. So you said that they were not demanding, they were
Desiring, requesting.
desiring. Yeah. Were they expecting that Krishna will come?
Of course. See, expectations in any relationship are just natural. If we are doing something, we expect something. Om Kritosmara, that comes in the last verse of the Ishopanishad. My dear Lord, please remember the good deed that I have done. Please remember the service that I have done. So now, is it that the Lord is going to forget the service that we have done? That's not the mood of it. The idea is that we want the Lord's presence, and we're just making our appeal to the Lord. So it's like in any relationship, there is an unspoken aspect and the spoken aspect. Yes, so we say, okay, love is there in my heart, but it needs to be expressed at times appropriately. Sometimes people say, no, that whatever our desires are, whatever our worries are, whatever our concerns, God already knows them. Why pray to Him? But we pray because our articulation of those connects us more deeply. So the thing is, expectations are just natural. But what becomes a problem is attachment to the expectations. So expectation was just natural. That's a part of life. But when we are attached to those expectations, when we make, especially say our relationship with Krishna, conditional to the fulfillment of our expectations, then it becomes a problem.
Thank you.
Yes.
You said devotion does not have demand. Yashoda Maya, is she demanding to Krishna? And we say Yashoda Maya was demanding. There is a devotion, but Maya as a mother, she is demanding Krishna.
Yes, so there are different flavors of the relationship. Prabhupada talks about this particular desiring but not demanding in terms of Karnam Muni, when he is performing austerity in the third canto and the Lord appears. So there Prabhupada talks about this. So in general, the Vraja devotees, their rasa is special. So yes, Yashoda, she does want Krishna, say, eat food properly, Krishna come back on time, Krishna not steal butter. And Acharya explained that she's worried if Krishna steals butter, he will develop a reputation. It is a thief. And if he develops a reputation that he's a thief, please come. If he develops a reputation that he's a thief, then nobody will give their daughter in marriage to Krishna. So, it's a typical maternal concern. So she has concern, and sometimes she tries to discipline Krishna, she tries to punish Krishna. Also, she tries, Damodar, she tries to try. But then at the same time, she also understands. When Krishna is not sleeping, there are low reasons she sings to get Krishna to sleep. She's not forcing. So in love, there is a certain level of pushing. And sometimes, yes, when Krishna is not eating food, she'll sing songs, she'll entertain him, she'll feed him. So in some cases, there might be a little bit of forcing. But that's specifically because she is in the Vatsalya rasa. But even then, say when she tries to forcibly try Krishna, or she catch Krishna, she's not able to catch for a long time. She's trying to tie Krishna, she's not able to tie for a long time. It's only when her anger changes to amazement. How is Krishna so special? How am I not able to tie him? So that's when Krishna lets himself be tied. We'll come back to it. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Here gopis have the highest love. Okay. So when generally there is a highest love, the demanding also takes place. But like here you mentioned, they're only desiring and not demanding.
Yeah, let's talk about this a little bit more. And I said that desire, love is there. What does the highest love mean? It means that the gopis demonstrate the highest level of self-giving. That they are giving themselves completely to Krishna. We will maybe talk about this. Definitely, I'm going to talk about this. But I would like to elaborate on this a little bit more in one of the future verses, especially the 15th verse. We talk about it. The verse Gopis, Krishna says that Gopis say that we have left everything. We have left everything and come to you. Yes, Pati Sutanvaya Bhratru Bandhava. Maybe we'll talk at that time. I'll talk before also. But the Gopis have given themselves completely to Krishna. So the highest love is not necessarily that they make the highest demand. There is the highest offering of themselves to Krishna. So, because they give themselves to Krishna, even when Krishna does not reciprocate, in one sense, see the gopis give themselves completely to Krishna and Krishna leaves them and goes away. And still the gopis don't give Krishna up. That's what makes their love special. The highest love means not that necessarily the highest demand. It's more of highest self-giving that is there. Yes. Yes.
Prabhuji, like it's been mentioned that the goddess Fortune stays there permanently. Does the gopis knows already that Krishna being the supreme lord? Like until now, I've been saying that they have highest attraction or love for him. But does they already know that he's the supreme lord?
All of you are asking questions that I was supposed to answer in future sessions. I appreciate your curiosity. So, yes, it's an important subject, but I'll mention it now since you have asked it. That see, there is the Aishwarya of the Lord, and there is this greatness. Now, also, what is the other thing? Madhurya. Madhurya is his sweetness. So now, it is that those who are in Madhurya, they are aware of the Aishwarya, but that is not prominent in their awareness. It is like, for them, the Madhurya is like the sun, and Aishwarya is like the stars. The stars are there in the sky even in the daytime. But the sun is so bright that the stars are no longer seen. So like that, the gopis know, they're not ignorant about Krishna's divinity. They know that Krishna is God, but their love for Krishna is so great that their relationship is primarily based on that love. It's like, say, suppose somebody becomes very powerful, somebody becomes the chief minister, prime minister of a country. And say a person knew that person a friend knew that person before they became the Prime Minister. Then, or before they became a celebrity. Now, if they have very close friendship, and the other person also wants that close friendship, then what happens is you are aware that this person is such a celebrity, but that is not the core foundation of the relationship. The relationship is not based on their celebrity status, it is based on their personal bond. So, like that, for the gopis, they are aware of Krishna's divinity, his supremacy, his greatness, but their focus is on his Madhurya. And whenever, so that's the first point. But another point is that more important, it's like they use the special love of the gopis is that they, in one sense, use the Aishwarya in service of the Madhurya. What that means is that they are not in this mood, their mood is not specific that, oh Krishna, you are so God, you are God, you are everywhere. You are God, you give this fortune to everyone. Therefore, please give us some fortune. Please come back to us. So wherever there is a reference of Aishwarya, the greatness of Krishna, that is only to further intensify their call that Krishna come back. So in that sense, that flavor is not disturbed. So we know in Vrindavan, the Brajavasis, do they worship Krishna? Not generally. Krishna is, they love Krishna as a Brajavasi. But then, does that mean that the Brajavasis don't worship anyone? Is Vrindavan an atheistic community? Well, certainly not, isn't it? So now, in Vrindavan, the gopis worship Katyayani, for example. Nanda Maharaj one time goes all the way to worship Lord Shiva, and they celebrate Shivratri. In general, the Brajavasis, they are worshippers of Narayan. Nanda Maharaj performs a vrata for Narayan so that they can have a child who is like Narayan. So the point is that they are aware of the cosmic deities. But all of that awareness, whether there is occasional worship of the Devatas or there is regular worship of Narayan, all that is for furthering their relationship with Krishna. So everything else that is there, whether it is even awareness of Krishna's divinity or their compliance with Vedic customs or their ritual acts of worship, all of them are meant ultimately for enhancing their relationship with Krishna, for sweetening the flavor of their relationship with Krishna. So that's why when Krishna is in some danger, Krishna survives Putana's attack or Krishna survives Prunava's attack, what do the gopis do? They apply Chandana on Krishna and they chant various mantras centered on Narayan or Vishnu Narayan so that Krishna will protect them. So their focus is Krishna ultimately. Okay. Yes.
So why did Krishna disappear suddenly? Very specific reason.
Add suspense, I know it.
Same question. Actually, is anybody?
Yes. Yeah.
We said we have to read Bhagavatam gradually, right? Canto 1, Canto 2. Now, please, for those who have not come up with 10 Canto, how do we understand this?
Well, as I said, Prabhupada said both. Prabhupada said that it's very exalted, but Prabhupada also said that he wanted to make it accessible. That Krishna book, he wanted it for mass distribution. So that it's not that people have to read all the other cantos before they come to the 10th canto. So the idea is that we want to be, when Prabhupada says that go canto by canto till you come 10th canto, the point is don't take Krishna cheaply. So when we go through the previous canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we clearly become aware of Krishna's greatness, his Aishwarya. And then when we approach the Madhurya, then we won't take Krishna cheaply. Now for most of us, we have heard the philosophy. So in that sense, the point is of being aware of Krishna's Aishwarya is something which we have got some awareness of it. We're not approaching this as simply some mundane romance or something like that. You understand? There's a divine relationship over it. So, while respecting, sometimes we respect something that we consider it that I'll never be able to touch it. So, if that happens, then we deprive ourselves of the purification, the devotional enrichment, the proximity to Krishna that can come from this. So we are practicing, we are having due caution. It's not that it's an absolute rule that unless you have read every single verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, you can't touch the 10th canto. Prabhupada's point was there are people who do Bhagavad Sapta only on the 10th canto, and often they do it only on the last Panchadhyaya. And then if they don't give any philosophical context to what is going on, then people often misunderstand. And there is a deviation in bhakti called Sahajiyaism, which we will discuss. And that is a prominent and you could say almost ever-present danger. So that was the danger that Prabhupada wanted us to avoid. We will discuss that. Thank you. So thank you very much. Shri Krishna Bhagwan ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gopi Geet ki jai. Jai Gaur Premanande. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Let us thank His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu with 3 loud and enthusiastic. So just a small reflection in terms of the first verse. Today, what gopis were saying, they are so fortunate. So why are they going through so much? In a way, that Braj is so nice, and goddess of fortune resides here. But why we are still suffering? Something like that. I think, Prabhuji, our situation here is exactly opposite. We know that we are misfortuned in this concrete jungle, but you have made us fortunate by coming and telling Gopi Gita prayers. Really, I was thinking about it. What did we do to come into this situation that we are even discussing such a highest philosophy, rightfully from you, who is so nicely analyze and explain. So it's really difficult to even think and contemplate that this is actually happening. How many of you feel like that? Yeah, and we are humbled actually by your presence and by your choice of this topic. And we all, will try to be as regular as we can. All of them have offices. Matajis have done the fastest cooking today, I believe. Whatever that turns out next, we don't know. But everybody has put so much effort to be here on time, most of us at least. So very, very grateful, Prabhuji. And I think you have a 10 o'clock class today? 10:15? So then I think you have to leave then.
I'm delighted to be here with all of you. Last time when I came here, I saw congregation was so enthusiastic. And of course, many of you are helping me in some service. I felt that it will be wonderful to spend some time here. And I think this is an exalted topic, and I don't want to be presumptuous in saying that I'm qualified to speak on it. But the point is, often being in a tradition requires us to often do things which are beyond our qualification. If I do it in a mood of humility, I had done a series of podcasts with Madhvanand Prabhu and Amarendra Prabhu on this topic. So our first podcast was elaborately on why should we at all study the Ras Leela or the Ras Panchadhyaya. So we also focused on the Gopi Gita only over there. So the point is that if we don't study it, then who is going to? If we don't study it, and we don't understand Krishna better. So with humility, we'll try to do this. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be here with all of you and discuss this subject. It is something which is very enriching to the heart if we approach it properly, and we'll try to do that in the next few sessions. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So Prabhuji has to leave. He has another session to give online. He has to immediately leave. But let us thank Srinivas Prabhu and your Mataji Peer from Rupavati Mataji, and your daughter's name? Samhita. Yeah, Sangeeta. Samhita. Yeah. Srinivas Prabhu, Rupamati Mataji, and Samhita Mataji with 3 loud and enthusiastic Haribol. And Prabhuji, in this complex, we have not started satsangs. Very soon, we are planning to start. And Raja Ramesh Prabhu is sitting here. We need you to bless him so that he'll start and pass on this Gaudiya Vaishnava message to residents in this community, and hopefully a Rath Yatra in this community. Haribol, Haribol. So we do that in every community. Like we plan the sessions in such a way that every day, you're going to one community where preaching is happening. This is the only community where preaching has not started yet. Otherwise, it will start soon. Yeah, and you started it. You started it today. And you made this place fortunate, and God as a fortune will always be here. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Everybody stay. We'll have breakfast prasadam. And Prabhuji, you want somebody to take Prabhuji, or you will only take? Let's go back. Okay. Hare Krishna. Sure. Yeah. I'll check this. Thank you.